Greetings from the channel again. Robert De Niro's world fell apart in July 2023. First, a deadly combination of drugs killed his adolescent grandson. After giving birth, his partner's face went paralyzed. Only a few months later, a contentious legal dispute revealed sinister details about his private life. The highly secretive celebrity was unable to conceal the scandals that were taking over his life for the first time in his 60-year career. On August 17, 1943, Robert De Niro was born in a Manhattan hospital. His father, an abstract artist with Italian and Irish ancestry, would go on to exhibit his work in major institutions. His mother was a painter and poet of Dutch, English, French, and German descent. They fell in love after meeting at an art school in 1941. They were unable to stop painting, even throughout their honeymoon. However, when he was only 2 years old, everything changed. His parents divorced. Back then, there was no open discussion of the cause. His father was aware of his sexual orientation. It affected De Niro's early life and was shocking to others around them. His father remained close to his parents despite their separation, and continued to play a role in his life. Because he was thin and pale as a little boy, children called him Bobby Milk. Unbeknownst to his parents, his grandparents surreptitiously had him baptized in a Catholic church on September 14, 1945, adding to the already complex circumstances in his childhood. His grandparents wanted him to be a member of their religion, even though his parents weren't religious. There was a subtle tension as a result. His grandparents desired tradition and religion, whereas his parents valued art and individual expression. His mother reared him primarily on the streets of Little Italy and Greenwich Village. His mother worked to provide for them, but his father was still living. She worked long hours as a typesetter and printer. De Niro was alone a lot of the time. He turned to movies for solace. He frequently went to the theater with his father. And he soon developed an obsession. He was particularly enthralled with one actress, Greta Garbo. Something about her performance resonated with him, but he wasn't really sure why. Then an unforeseen event occurred. De Niro was able to attend free acting classes since his mother was paid to type scripts for a theatrical workshop. This was his first true taste of acting at the age of 10. Soon after, on April 15, 1954, he made his stage debut as the Cowardly Lion from The Wizard of Oz in a school production. He lost interest in education as he grew older. At 16, he made a significant choice. He left school to pursue a career in acting. The 3 days he had spent at the High School of Music and Art had been brief. He stopped because the pressure and competitiveness were too great. He didn't care that his family wasn't happy. He chose to spend his time on the streets rather than in school, observing people to learn about their speech patterns and body language. At the age of 15, he even joined a small Italian gang. He saw a different side of life, although he was never actually involved in crime. He continued to go by his previous moniker, Bobby Milk. Then, when I was 17, everything changed once more. He enrolled in the renowned acting school, the Stella Adler Conservatory, on September 5, 1960. He truly began learning the craft at this point. He learned method acting, which would become a defining characteristic of his career. He attempted to complete high school by attending night classes, but it was unsuccessful. School had lost its significance. It was all about the acting. There was no turning back from that point on. Brian De Palma directed Robert De Niro's debut film, The Wedding Party. When he shot it in 1963, he was just 20 years old. However, the film wasn't released until 1969 due to legal issues. His debut appeared more enigmatic than it actually was because of that protracted delay. The film itself was short, black and white, and not a big hit. However, it was significant since it marked the beginning of De Niro's career. With Bang the Drum Slowly, released in 1973, De Niro's life completely changed. Although it was a baseball film, in reality, it was a tale of loss and friendship. Bruce Pearson, a catcher who was dying of Hodgkin's disease and wasn't particularly intelligent, was portrayed by De Niro. He was serious about the role. He trained with the St. Louis Cardinals and spent months learning how to play baseball in order to make it true. He wanted all of his movements to be effortless. Critics took note. They commended him for bringing so much emotion to the part and stated his acting felt genuine rather than staged. However, obtaining the part wasn't simple. Before being selected, he had to try out 7 times. The movie was a hit when it was released on July 26, 1973. For a little film, it made a substantial $5 million. More significantly, it brought De Niro to the public's attention. For the first time, Hollywood truly saw his potential. De Niro met Martin Scorsese, the director who would transform his life, in the same year. Mean Streets, their debut film together, was released a few months after Bang the Drum Slowly. The major role went to his pal Harvey Keitel, despite De Niro's initial desire. Rather, De Niro portrayed Johnny Boy, an irresponsible gambler who was constantly in hot water. This character proved to be ideal for him. He gave the character a wild energy that made Johnny Boy frightening and unpredictable. People were unable to look away from him. The film's $500,000 budget was limited, and production was challenging. Scorsese even had to pay off local mobsters to keep them from interfering during the filming, which took place in actual locales in Little Italy in New York. In one instance, Scorsese's father had to intervene and strike a bargain after the building owner refused to allow them to film. The film came out unvarnished, authentic, and vibrant in spite of all the difficulties. It was praised by critics. De Niro received a Best Supporting Actor award. All of a sudden, his name was well known throughout Hollywood. He then rose to fame in 1974. In that year, he portrayed a teenage Vito Corleone in The Godfather Part 2, which was expected to be a tremendous smash because the original Godfather film had been so successful. De Niro was required to portray a younger version of the character made famous by Marlon Brando. He was serious about it. To ensure that he sounded entirely genuine, he studied the Sicilian dialect for 4 months. His perseverance paid off. De Niro won the Best Supporting Actor Oscar at the Academy Awards, and the film was a huge hit. In typical De Niro fashion, he didn't even turn up to accept the award, despite the fact that he was just 31. Because work always comes first for him, he was in Italy filming another picture. It wasn't simply him who won. For The Godfather Part 2, which took home 6 Oscars that evening, it was significant. He had won the prize by defeating 2 of his own co-stars, Lee Strasberg and Michael Villegazzo. Oscar's victory demonstrated that he was not merely a budding actor but perhaps one of the greatest. And this was just the start. The performance by Robert De Niro in Taxi Driver will never be forgotten. It was as shocking how he prepared for it. He obtained a legitimate taxi license and worked 12-hour shifts for 3 months in order to fully comprehend what it's like to be a New York cab driver. Almost nobody knew him, despite the fact that he had recently won an Oscar for The Godfather Part 2. It was just what he desired. Like Travis, he had to feel invisible. He inhabited the role rather than merely studying it. The movie's most well-known scene, "You Talking to Me?" came next. The script didn't even mention it. De Niro made it up as he talked like a man gradually going insane while staring at himself in the mirror. He changed himself into Travis in more ways than one. He shed 35 pounds. In an attempt to comprehend their suffering, he spent time with PTSD-afflicted Vietnam War veterans. Travis's boots felt like second nature to him, as he walked 15 miles a day for 2 months in a row. When filming began, he no longer only resembled Travis. He was himself. De Niro, however, continued to challenge himself. He went even farther in Raging Bull when he portrayed boxer Jake LaMotta. Prior to the real boxer stating that De Niro could have turned pro, he trained with LaMotta himself, sparring for months. The hardest part, however, came next. LaMotta was portrayed in the film as an older, bulkier man. De Niro also declined to don a fat costume. Rather, he put on 60 pounds. He ate as much as he could while traveling through France and Italy for 4 months. Anything to transform his body, whether it be bread, pasta, or ice cream. His weight increased from 145 to 215 pounds. He gained so much weight that it was difficult for him to move and breathe. Fearing about his health, the production team hurried to complete filming his more intense portions. He was then cautioned by doctors not to do that again. His recovery took more than a year, but the work was worthwhile. He took home the Best Actor Oscar. He continued to be fixated on giving his parts a sense of realism. In his role as a fame-obsessed man in The King of Comedy, he sought to understand the thoughts of a stalker. A real one, then, came along. However, that was insufficient. He began to covertly follow Jerry Lewis, the actor in the film who portrayed the talk show host. He observed Lewis's movements, his reactions to admirers, and his demeanor when no one was around. Despite Lewis's discomfort, it was successful. De Niro had a startlingly realistic performance. Then came Goodfellas, where he was meticulous about every little detail. He portrayed Jimmy Conway, a mobster who was driven by a desire for wealth and influence. De Niro spent the entire session wearing silk underpants to add authenticity, like the thug in real life. Additionally, he demanded that every scene feature actual money. The piles of cash weren't phony when the cameras rolled. For the set, De Niro even brought $5,000 of his own. Then there was the scenario on the phone. He slammed a phone, shattering the glass, out of sheer anger. His hand was injured by a fragment of it, but he continued. His own blood was utilized, applying it to the face of Ray Liotta. That version was included in the finished film. De Niro operated in this manner, even if it wasn't planned. He continued if it seemed real. His performances were memorable because of this. Robert De Niro married quickly for the first time. 3 months later, on April 28, 1976, he married Deanne Abbott, whom he had met on the set of Taxi Driver. Because he was conceived at the Hotel Raphael in Rome, their son, Raphael, earned his name. Their new marriage was strained at the time because De Niro was heavily involved in method acting and continued to play Travis Bickle after the filming was finished. Raphael was welcomed on November 9, 1976, in spite of everything. In keeping with his dedication to family, De Niro also adopted Abbott's daughter, Drina, who was born in 1971. They were married for 12 years, which saw De Niro rise to fame thanks to films like Raging Bull, 1980, and The Deer Hunter, 1978. Abbott even starred as a bartender in one of his movies, The King of Comedy, 1982. However, the marriage finally ended in 1988. De Niro gave Abbott $6.2 million, a substantial sum at the time, as part of a discreet divorce settlement. In 1988, following the divorce, De Niro began dating actress and model Toukie Smith. They had a unique relationship that lasted till 1996. Through surrogacy and in vitro fertilization, they welcomed twin sons in 1995, Julian Henry and Aaron Kendrick, which was uncommon for celebrities at the time. When the twins were born, De Niro was 52, which went against the norm for parenting. His personal life was further complicated by accusations that he was seeing supermodel Naomi Campbell. "Do you know how to spell private?" Smith once asked, indicating his extreme privacy and refusal to discuss their connection. Private. And with a capital P at that. They decided on a co-parenting plan after they separated in 1996, taking turns looking after the twins in 4-day cycles, demonstrating their commitment to parenting them jointly. De Niro married Grace Hightower in 1997, although their marriage had its ups and downs. Hightower was a hostess at the upscale London restaurant Mr. Chow, where they first met in 1987. On June 17, 1997, they were married after 10 years of courtship. However, things soon became difficult. Filed for divorce in 1999, just 2 years later. The breakup never happened, and in a shocking change of events, they reaffirmed their vows in 2004 in front of celebrities at a lavish ceremony in the Catskill Mountains. Elliot was born on March 18, 1998, and Helen Grace was born on December 23, 2011, through surrogacy. They were married for 21 years. However, it was far from flawless. Tension arose from rumors that Hightower had financial and film-related control over De Niro. When they finally parted ways in 2018, the divorce process became contentious. According to De Niro's attorney, the star was even made to work in order to support Hightower's lavish lifestyle. She was found to spend $215,000 a month on credit cards in court, plus an additional $160,000 in cash, which many people found shocking. It was surprising that De Niro became a parent once more at the age of 68. He and Hightower welcomed their surrogate daughter, Helen Grace, on December 23, 2011. He became one of Hollywood's oldest famous fathers as a result. While some condemned his decision to become a father at such a young age, others applauded it. Around the same time, his close friend Al Pacino became a father as well, welcoming twins at the age of 70. De Niro was a serious father. In order to spend more time with his daughter, he even took a 6-month hiatus from acting, which cost him important movie roles, such as one in The Judge, 2014. The positions he chose were also altered by his experience as an older father. He began working on more family-friendly films, such as 2013's The Family and The Intern, 2015. De Niro merely responded, "I love my children, just being with them," when questioned about becoming a father later in life. You forget about the bad times when you're enjoying the good ones. When Robert De Niro starred in Silver Linings Playbook in 2012, his career took an unexpected turn. It had been 21 years since his last Oscar nomination, and he was 69 years old. However, this position altered that. He portrayed Pat Solitano Sr., a Philadelphia Eagles fanatic who battled obsessive-compulsive disorder. Despite having a modest $21 million budget, the film was a huge success, earning nearly $236 million worldwide. De Niro's performance, however, was truly remarkable. In one scene, he gave an emotional speech to Bradley Cooper's character and suddenly started crying. The script didn't call for that moment. It was authentic. Additionally, it increased the impact of his performance. The nomination was unprecedented even though he didn't win the Oscar. It was the first film to receive nominations in all 4 acting categories in 31 years. More significantly, it served as a reminder to everyone that De Niro remained one of the world's greatest actors. He was viewed differently by a new generation of moviegoers. He then collaborated with Martin Scorsese in The Irishman in 2019. People were referring to this as his best performance in 20 years, and he was 76. With a $200 million budget, the film employed cutting-edge de-aging technology to allow him to portray Frank Sheeran at various ages. Large, dramatic situations weren't the focus of the character. It was about the little things, his appearance, his movements, the way his face changed so little but conveyed so much emotion. He showed the audience Sheeran's whole life, from a teenage truck driver to a lonely, remorseful hitman, over the course of the 3.5-hour video. It didn't matter if some people didn't enjoy the de-aging effects, particularly in the scene where he punches up a grocer. He gave an amazing performance. The movie was nominated for 10 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. Additionally, in its first week of release, it reached over 26 million households thanks to its Netflix release. This film demonstrated that De Niro was more than just a historical figure. He remained at the top of his game, open to trying new things, taking chances, and pushing himself. He collaborated with Scorsese once more on Killers of the Flower Moon in 2023. This moment was significant not only because of the film but also because it marked De Niro and Leonardo DiCaprio's first acting collaboration in a Scorsese production. De Niro, who was 79 at the time, portrayed William Hale, a strong rancher who was a part of the 1920s Osage Nation killings. With a budget of more than $200 million, the movie was one of Scorsese's largest endeavors. De Niro gave the part his all. He put on weight, aged over time, and put on makeup for hours on end. The film received a 9-minute standing ovation from the crowd at the Cannes Film Festival. De Niro's performance was deemed spooky by critics, who said it was among his most ominous roles in a long time. The movie was more than just a narrative. It dealt with a sinister, obscure aspect of American history. Furthermore, De Niro ensured that his performance added to its impact. De Niro is one of the finest actors of all time despite spending 7 decades in Hollywood. He never slowed down since he began performing in the 1960s. He always reinvents himself when others fear he may disappear. He makes himself relevant to every new generation by alternating between comedy and serious dramas. He portrayed a talk show host in the 2019 film Joker. That generated more than $1 billion globally. He is more than just an actor, too. In 2002, he helped establish the Tribeca Film Festival, which has since grown to become one of the world's largest film festivals. Tribeca Productions, his production firm, continues to produce excellent movies and television series. He is admired by younger actors not only for his skill but also for his work ethic. He continues to work tirelessly until his late 70s. He starred in 3 big motion pictures in 2023 alone, including Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis and Killers of the Flower Moon, which was about my father. He was 79 years old at the time. De Niro continues to demonstrate that skill, commitment, and passion can make a person timeless, whereas other performers become less effective as they get older. De Niro remains iconic despite changes in Hollywood. On July 2, 2023, Robert De Niro's life took a permanent turn. Leandro, his 19-year-old grandson, was discovered dead in his residence in Manhattan. An overdose of drugs was the cause. A lethal combination of fentanyl, cocaine, ketamine, and other drugs was later discovered in the medical report. As an actor, Leandro had been pursuing his grandfather's career. He even made an appearance in the 2018 film A Star is Born. However, he passed away too soon. De Niro, who was typically reserved and solemn, was shocked to his core. "It's just a shock," he said in a rare emotional outburst to People magazine. "I never imagined that would occur. The situation worsened when a 20-year-old lady named Sophia Haley Marks was taken into custody by police 2 weeks later. She was charged with selling Leandro fentanyl-laced counterfeit prescription medications. The tablets, which were lethal fakes, were meant to be oxycodone and Xanax. The case raised awareness to America's opioid issue. Nearly half of phony prescription tablets tested for fentanyl contained enough of the drug to kill a person, the Drug Enforcement Administration had previously warned. Tragically, Leandro's passing served as a reminder of how harmful these substances were. It sparked discussions on drug education as well. Stronger regulations on prescription drugs and improved assistance for those who are addicted. Another storm struck as De Niro was coping with this devastating loss. He ended up in court in November 2023, where he was sued for $12 million. Graham Chase Robinson, his former assistant, accused him of verbal abuse, harassment, and discrimination. After 11 years of service, she rose from personal assistant to vice president of his business, Canal Productions. She said she endured unfair treatment, rude remarks, and unwanted groping during those years. De Niro may be heard shouting and cursing at her in a voicemail that was played in court. However, Robinson's case against De Niro wasn't the only one. De Niro and his business had filed a $6 million lawsuit against her in 2019. They said she had stolen money, stealing company money, and even binge-watching 55 Friends episodes while working. Additionally, they claimed that she had moved 5 million airline miles to her personal account, which is around $85,000. It was an 8-day trial. 2 of those days were spent by De Niro testifying. Although he acknowledged some of Robinson's allegations, he denied mistreating her. He acknowledged that he had informed her that his personal trainer received a higher salary since he had a family to provide for. He grinned and replied, "Okay," twice, when asked if he had ever requested her to scratch his back. "You understand me." The jury deliberated for 5 hours before returning a verdict. Although De Niro was not convicted, his business, Canal Productions, was mandated to give Robinson $1.2 million. The jury found that the corporation had retaliated against her when she raised her voice and had discriminated against her based on her gender. De Niro's reputation suffered as a result of the lawsuit. It also sparked conversations on gender discrimination, power dynamics in the workplace, and how Hollywood occasionally blurs the boundaries between personal and professional life. Then, just when it appeared that things couldn't get much harder, Tiffany Chen, De Niro's partner, experienced a startling medical emergency. She disclosed in July 2023 that she had received a Bell's palsy diagnosis soon after giving birth to their daughter, Gia. A tiny tingle in her tongue was the beginning of it all. Then something started to feel off about her face. She noticed that her face was drooping as she looked in the mirror one day. Things quickly deteriorated. She was unable to eat for days. She would simply spit food out. Her speech was slurred. Following her hasty arrival at the hospital, testing revealed that she had Bell's palsy. Bell's palsy often only affects one side of the face. In Tiffany's instance, however, both sides were immobilized. She was unable to talk clearly. She was unable to smile at her newborn. She was also unable to kiss her daughter. It was devastating. She acknowledged feeling annoyed and self-conscious. Support came from De Niro, who often kept his feelings to himself. She looked good, he told her, even joking that she simply had a rather severe appearance. However, despite all of these personal hardships, De Niro didn't remain silent in public. He made headlines once more on September 24, 2024, when Francis Ford Coppola's film Megalopolis debuted in New York. He took the microphone in front of a packed theater and began discussing Donald Trump. He said he could picture Trump running Megalopolis. It isn't going anywhere. Complete madness. There is nothing he can do. I can't hold anything together, he continued. His goal is to devastate the nation. Trump was running for president again in 2024, and the address was given just weeks before that election. Spike Lee was among the audience members who encouraged him. Others believed that bringing politics into a movie launch was improper. De Niro's criticism of Trump was not new, and it would not be the last time. He made an unexpected appearance outside the Manhattan courthouse where Trump's hush money trial was taking place on May 28 of that year. In front of reporters, he stood with 2 retired police officers who had witnessed the January 6 incident in the Capitol. He referred to Trump as a clown and threatened to remove him from office if he won. The video became viral very fast. He was jeered by Trump fans in the crowd, and the entire situation descended into a brawl. In response, Trump's campaign referred to De Niro as a washed-up actor and claimed that Biden's team was in dire need of publicity. De Niro lost a prize as a result of his public remarks. The National Association of Broadcasters, or ANAB, reclaimed the Service to America Award on June 2, 2024, 5 days before he was scheduled to get it. They claimed that his recent remarks on Trump were too divisive. Although they maintained that they were in favor of free speech, they believed his participation would divert attention. This was viewed as unfair by others, who said that he was being punished for voicing his opinions. Others said that actors should avoid politics and that the NAB had made the right choice.